Hey Mike, what's the latest with Bigfoot DNA? Is there any new news going on right now?
Yeah, we got some major news. There was a blog talk radio program on Halloween night, Sunday evening, and they had Dr. Melba Ketchum, excuse me, Dr. Melba Ketchum, who's the head of the DNA Diagnostics Lab in Texas, and she is they are the lab that is undertaking the sequencing of Bigfoot DNA. They received some hair samples from Josh Gates from Destination Truth and from Dave Paulides. Everybody knows who he is. He wrote the Hoopa Project, Tribal Bigfoot. And she ran both of these hair samples against some human markers to see if anything would happen, and bingo. She got some spikes and some indicators saying that this thing was, that both of these samples were possibly in the hominid line, but she didn't have enough DNA to follow up, because she said that she had been getting these samples from people since 1995. People have given her samples of tissue, hair, and so forth, claiming they thought it was Bigfoot. She has tested it. Because they paid her to, so she went ahead, she tested it, and she got more and more skeptical as time went by, because she kept coming out with normal animals, you know, raccoons, horses, well, you name it. Every single one proved to be just a normal animal. And so when she got these samples from both Paulides and Josh Gates, she had figured the same thing was going to happen. And so she was kind of cavalier about it, and all she had was a little bit of tissue off the follicle of the hair in each case. And from what I understand, there is DNA in the roots of hair, but there's very little of it. It degrades quickly, and the best chance they have for getting DNA off of hair is if there's an actual follicle, and even better yet, a skin tag attached. Because from skin they have full cells and they can get a lot of information. So she got these markers, these indicators that something was going on, that this wasn't, that this was primate on apparently something different, but she didn't have enough DNA left from the samples she'd been given to do any further testing. So at that point she started going out and looking for additional samples, and one of the sources was ourselves. We have a tooth that I've talked about on some of our videos in the past, and so they paid the price to fly me to Los Angeles with the tooth, and they took a sample out of that tooth, and it's in that lab in Texas now too. I don't think they've gotten to our sample yet, because they've been working with the fleshier stuff that's more recent. Ours is more of a fossil find, and they apparently have some bone and some teeth and other fossils as well that they're going to be getting to as time goes by. So that'll be kind of the icing on the cake, we hope. But anyway, she was on the radio program, and of course she was reticent to give a lot of details about their findings for obvious reasons. They don't want that to be out and talked about too much until they actually publish the paper, because there's going to be, there's going to be an immense knee-jerk reaction to this from the skeptics. I've already noticed it, because she was on a few weeks ago on George Nuri's show and made some comments about this, not nearly as direct as she did Halloween night. And already there's people in some of the skeptical forums that are just, they're hacking her up in there, they're criticizing her, they're questioning her credentials, and everything that they typically do to try and negate her work. And they haven't even seen the work yet, you see. That's the way it goes. So she knows that's going to happen, so that's why they're being very careful in the lab, and they have a number of people working as a team to do this paper and do it properly and make sure that it's published and that everything's done according to the rules of science. So that is in the works and going to happen. So so she kind of talked about it in general, as I have so far, and then one of the hosts on this Bigfoot Busters radio show said, asked her pretty much flat out something to this effect. I took some notes. Without violating any of your team's work or your credibility, do you believe that there is a Bigfoot? This was the question asked to Melba Ketchum on Halloween, and she said, "Oh, I can say yes without any problems. You just have to wait for all the details." So there you have it, folks. The cat is out of the bag. She has announced that she is convinced that there is such a thing as a Sasquatch, and that's based on the sequencing that she's already done of mitochondrial DNA. Now, if you want to have a better understanding of that, or understand the full brunt of that comment and exactly what it is she's doing, I suggest you go online and look up the X-Woman. This was a finger bone found in Siberia in a cave, and they sequenced it and determined that it was a new species of human, apparently, an apparent human, but it was older than Neanderthal and older than Homo sapiens and possibly older than Homo erectus. So this being the case, and they dated it to, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 years ago. So what they're saying now is, in essence, if you go back now and look at all this, there were 4 or 5 different hominins, different human-like creatures, existing on the planet 30 or 40,000 years ago, that recently. So I just don't think that it's such a shock that they're going to be able to have some DNA that's going to come from the samples that Bigfoot researchers have found that indicates another species of human, or something akin to a human.